All right, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to my Thursday morning live stream on Fumes channel. I'm Lynell Ingram, the artist, and going to be working on some more art today. This is a painting that I began last stream. Did all this painting in. I had the drawing all set. Today we're going to continue with that, and you may notice there's music. I hope you can notice. I tried to check it as best as I could before the stream began to make sure everything's good there. And I think it is. Check this camera a little bit. All right. I think the level's good. Let me know if you can't hear it or if it's too loud. But yeah, I just wanted to have some kind of chill music going on for painting and working. Kind of make it a more chill kind of co-working or just relax and watch experience on the stream. So I have out my watercolor still, because I still will be doing a little bit of watercolor painting on here. I have just a few things that I'd like to tweak. I'm pretty happy overall. Her feet are a little flat, so I'm going to adjust probably add a little bit stronger shadows perhaps in the feet area. They got a little flat, but other than that, and I'm going to do a little wash for some background. Nothing too heavy, just real light. I just don't want it to be all empty paper behind her, just white. I don't want that part, any of the watercolor part, to be busy. All the busyness is going to come, if you're familiar with my work, it's going to get a little nuts, but that will all be kind of blossoming from what's coming from her mind, with all the mixed media stuff that will be added. So that is the plan for today. To finish the watercolor bit, start adding some of the mixed media elements, maybe even do some digging in to find some good stuff to use. And I'm just thinking that I need to pull up my reference photo here for a second too, just so I can look on my screen over here and see the details that I need, and kind of zoom into my feet area, because that's what I'm going to be looking at. So just the feet up here, and make sure I keep an eye on the stream also. So yeah, my computer screen is over here. It's all chaos. My desk is completely chaos right now. It's wires and my coffee and coffee reef, like just stuff everywhere. And I have a second monitor. This is the cutest thing ever. You gotta see this. I'm gonna move the camera for a second, so bear with me. Right there, see my cat? He sits on the chair next to me, and the second monitor is now his. And I just play bird videos on there for him, and he just sits next to me while I'm working, and he's occupied and just chilling and happy. So that's Watson. He's my co-worker today, often studio assistant. Right, I think we're pretty good state here to get started. I'm going to start with the wash. So I'm going to start getting things a little bit wet. Well, good morning. We've got Brain Toast and Mary Beth. Good morning. Good morning. I hope you guys have your coffee and are percolating some creative ideas for yourself if you're working on anything. So great to see everybody. Everyone that's up and looking for something to have on, either in the background or otherwise. If you're working on projects or just getting your day started. We actually have a pretty nice day so far here. Yesterday was all tornadoes and craziness. Right now I'm just adding some water. I'm putting down water to get the areas wet that I'm going to add some color to. Just have them a little bit damp. So that's kind of what I'm doing, is I'm just marking out, I'm just kind of filling in where I want to add some color washes. So it'll move a little more freely around the paper then, if it's not just like a dry brush paint on dry paper. Gives you a little different feel, flows a little bit more. So just trying to be careful around my figure so that I'm not going to overlap her with my background layers. And I keep brushing away. What I'm brushing away is cat hair. Oh, there's that hello. Yes, I got the music working, finally. I had to download a third-party app to do it. I hope that its levels are good, that it's not either too loud or too quiet, that it's just kind of nice and there, just some kind of calm stuff. Conducive to some creativity, maybe. Or relaxing, whatever, you know. But yeah, we had tornado warnings yesterday in the evening. Watch and warnings. Some did touch down. I believe there was some damage. Well, just a little bit, like maybe 6-7 miles south of me, right by O'Hare. There, I think that they were saying that some warehouses may have gotten damage, and some of the neighborhoods a little further south than that. So yeah, you know, just because you're close to the city doesn't mean you're immune from that kind of Mother Nature wrath. Cat hairs. My cat walks everywhere in my studio. He just sort of owns the place. So yes, cat hairs in your painting are a thing. Kind of like cat hairs in your food are condiments when you have a cat. Or a dog, probably, depending on the breed, it'd be about the same. I would imagine. I didn't hear if anybody was hurt. To be honest, with the tornadoes, I haven't listened to the local news since there was kind of the all clear last night for us. The metro stopped, all trains due to the winds, etc. Wow, yeah, I'm not surprised. It was pretty intense there for a while. And the videos that they were getting, because, you know, once you hear tornado sirens here were just constant for like 25 minutes, just didn't, like, go, stop for a moment, go again, it was just constant. So that was nuts. And then, so right away you put on your local news channel so you can keep track of things. Increase the mic? Yes, I can increase the mic. Love music, okay. Yeah, I wondered about that. I can reduce the level of the music a little too. We'll do both. Okay, give me a second for the mic adjustment. Raise the output gain a little. Okay. All right, is that better? It looks like I might be peaking. That might be a little too much. Okay. How was that? Have I improved the sound at all? Sorry for it. It's, you know, first time trying it out. I did a little like test. What do you call it? Yeah, the birds. The birds are from Watson's show. There might be some actually outside too. I do have the window open, but yeah, it's kind of nice, you know, outside of when the ads pop on for videos. But better. Okay, great. Oh, the garden's going. Nice. Yes, all the fresh greens and things that start to come now. Oh, I love it. I need to get to the local farmer's market around here one of these days. I always intend to, and then time just comes and goes so fast. Okay, what I'm going to do for my background wash. Okay, do moisten my hands. I like to use this little pipette. Just grab some water out of my water bowl and pop it into the colors. So let me get that here. One of those things that sometimes I remember and sometimes I don't, but it doesn't take long for that to help get things soft and easy to use. So I'm going to go with a very, my intention is to create a very light wash of kind of a gray blue. Clear a little bit of the section here, it doesn't have to be perfect. I don't mind a little bit of a purple hue in it. There we go. So I'm going to grab a little bit of some of the purple that I've used in here, which is kind of a gray blue to begin with. Really water that down. So let's see. Okay, yes, thank you for the thank you for the confirmation on the sound. I don't always know what's going on. Because of course I can't hear the music at all. Otherwise, if I was hearing it, you guys would get an echo because there's just naturally a what do you call it? Delay, a little bit. And I'm sure you don't need or want that. I don't know if I would consider doing a garden again one day, but I was a little traumatized by the last time I attempted it. Something to be said about biting off more than you can chew. Which is something I'm good at. And I'd set up my sewing machine because I'm like determined to try and make a shirt. And I'd started messing around with it during the weekend, and on my last stream on Monday I was saying like, oh, if I finish it, I'll wear that shirt on the next stream. Well, I didn't get to it to finish it. I just didn't have the opportunity or the time. I thought about working on it yesterday, and then there was all the thing with the tornadoes. So my productivity level just wasn't much going on yesterday. Speaking of where they get you light dome update, yeah. For anybody who doesn't know, Arasat sent me this amazing link on TikTok where somebody in their creative studio created this light dome that was like an X that domed over, and it was strips, the LED strip, the constant light one, not the little dots. And it was amazing. It just created this nice luminous glow with no shadows. And that sort of thing I think would be amazing even for streaming. And we were both going back a little bit looking into how it might work. And I found some materials. I haven't ordered anything yet. But I spent a ridiculous amount of time going down that rabbit hole and figuring out how I would do it. And I mean to do it yet. I probably am going to. I have the lights, the actual lights, and the little hardware you need to get them going, the strips of the LEDs, in my shopping cart on Amazon. I got distracted by buying more art supplies last week. And I found a company that creates these tracks, because you would need something to hold the light, like an actual track or something to hold the shape and the light. And turns out that there is like people who actually make things for that purpose that can be bended and such. So and they're not expensive. So I have to try getting that. I mean to do this. It is on my list because I think that would be very nice. I have got the light set for working at my easel behind me. Like, that is perfect. The lighting back there. The lighting here could be better. It's coming from sides of me, and there's some shadow casting. I think you can see that. And I don't get a ton of direct natural light. We kind of don't where we live anyway, just because of the setup. But the window is about 7-8 feet away from me, and there's no direct sunlight outside of like the first hour, maybe in the morning. So yeah, lighting can be tricky in here. And I use these. I have some cheapo like photography studio lights, the ones with a big white umbrella. They weren't expensive ones, but when I was just setting up and starting doing the YouTube channel at all, some time ago, I bought those, and they put off a lot of heat. And it's hot in this room anyway because there's no like airflow. We don't have central air. We have the wall units. One's out there, one's in there. So this room is just sort of its own little source of no air movement. Even when you open a window and you have a fan, it's like, eh. So the less like crazy hot it's got to be in here, the better. So that the wash I just put down just barely shows. It is really, really light. And that is, I'm gonna add I'm going to gray out a little bit more for this one. Oh, look at here. And just right behind my figure, proceed delicately when adjusting the color tone. So just behind my figure, I'm going to add a little bit more towel, studio towel. Just very light, with a little bit more intense colored here. Just a little bit. So it's subtle, but that's really what I want. Just subtle little detail or something there. Just not too far from me is Kenosha, Wisconsin, in like an hour. Because I'm in the Chicagoland area, which is not so far from the Wisconsin border. And Kenosha has this show I think every year they do it, where it's like Watercolor Society of America or something like that, something along those lines. And it's just, it's a juried art show that's in their museum of watercolor artists that are considered to be some of the excellent artists in the area, well, I guess in the US. I went there last year. My mom and I drove up there one day when I was with her, and it was pretty cool, like seeing what people did and different way that some folks work. So that's going on for just a little bit longer right now, so I'm going to try to get up to see that soon too. Which is interesting, because I know that I don't work very traditionally with well, with anything, to be honest, but it is just interesting to see what a lot of people do. And I'm so used to not seeing anything that interests me a lot with a lot of watercolor work. The majority of it tends to be like landscapes or still lifes and things like that, which can be gorgeous, don't get me wrong, absolutely beautiful. They just don't like excite me. It's not the work that I go out of my way generally to see. So seeing where some artists are doing more abstract work, like there's a plethora, it's everything. There's photorealism and abstract and everything in between. So I like to see that. It's just not as common with watercolors. So it's fun. Yeah, so the light dome, that is something that I want to do soon, along with all the other things, like finishing sewing the shirt and making more videos, and there's some things I want to change in the studio a little bit to be nicer backgrounds for when I'm working or taping. I'm so old, I said taping. But yeah, I'm excited about the things, but it's like prioritization is something that is hard, that I struggle with. For me, being somebody, ADHD, artist brain, all that stuff. So keeping the big picture in mind sometimes about what I need to be spending my time doing and structuring it, allowing for fun time still to do those fun projects, but also making sure I'm getting done what I need to get done is always a funny, crazy thing. Okay, so I'm going to do some work on the feet now. Try to get back to some of that color that I was working with. That's my lights and darks. It's just going to be a matter of increasing my dark levels a bit. Feet. Just got too flat. I don't need them to take all of the attention, but I don't want them to be completely flat either. So, picture here. Feet are great, but I don't want for them to be like, hey, I paint feet really great. Although I had a really good quote about Matisse out of the book I read in the last stream where he doesn't paint feet and such. So caught yourself saying filming the other day, so well, at least filming still exists. It does. I mean, it's considered like high art if you're filming a movie on film, but hey, it's, you know, it could be worse. I still say like album sometimes. Is that even still like a record? Like even when there were CDs back in the 90s, that was a thing. Like I think you still say those things sometimes because it was just, it's not a record. Although records are back, so that doesn't really, I don't know. I just remember when I was working with some kids and one of them was like referring to something about cable TV, and the boy said, "What is this, the 1920s?" And then I wanted to die. Like, cable TV has not been out of fashion that long. Like, people still use it, at least. Not as much, but it still is used. So that was pretty funny. But that was one I didn't like. I would expect the kids to think that, you know, cassette players, although they tried to bring that back for a hot second, didn't they? Wired telephones, like why do you call it hanging up when you hang up the phone? Most kids don't know that, you know? It's funny, but sometimes it makes you feel a little old, so. Everything changes. Dialing a number, yeah, that's true too. That's a good one. I still like, even, you know, for somebody who's an 80s baby, I love like etymology of words, like random things and phrases that we say. Every now and again, I'll be like, we say, where does that come from? Why do we say this thing? And go and, you know, well, it's wonderful now. We have Professor Google to check on anything we're curious about. And so you can find that kind of information very easily. But man, I find it so interesting. Like the things that were said, or a name for something that became normal. Party lines, yep. I wasn't alive for those, but I am familiar with those. You're part of it. I said I'm part of the internet disconnected because my mom picked up the phone, and yep, absolutely. I was a junior in high school the first time I saw the internet. And that was in the like Yahoo days, you know, Ask Jeeves, where like you wouldn't necessarily search for your topic, but there was like a directory in Yahoo you could go through to find things. I remember that. That was like 1997 or 8 or something like that. When my sister went away to college, and what year was that? I don't exactly remember what year that was. It was in the 90s. She got an email address, and I remember she told me here's what my email address is, and something, 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 at something, something. I'm like, at? What does that mean? What are you talking about? How does any of this? This makes no sense. So yeah, that was, you know. But yeah, getting in trouble for like taking up too much time with the dial-up modem. Yeah. Wild West, you'd actually go to websites. You try to free dial-up without your parents knowing? Long distance, oh man. That got you in some trouble. I did, when I was in college, as, you know, broke college student, I would use some of those, do you remember those freebie discs? That you would get like so many free hours on the CD, and it would like have some ad banner that would cover up a huge chunk of your screen. It was free because of the huge ads. One of them was the Kmart red light internet, because Kmart red light special used to be a thing back when Kmart used to exist. And it was one of those, like you get, I don't know, maybe 5 or 10 hours free, but it'd be like, you know, your monitor was only this big and this much of it would be taken up by ads. Oh, those were the days. Second foot is going on that sucker. But yeah, it's a different time for sure. The one thing, like, I don't wish that I had like the internet in the sense of like social media when I was a kid. I'm glad that that wasn't a thing. But YouTube and like the access to the information to learn anything, I am very, I wish that that existed, you know, as a kid. Because you can learn how to do so many things, and back then, like, you couldn't just find that information so easily. If, you know, maybe go to a library and look for a book or something. But how to work with different mediums, how to fix things, all of the information that is so accessible and we can take for granted. Like, I wish I had that. That would have been cool. I would go to the PC modem to try to hide the dial-up connecting because I snuck into the PC at 1 a.m. on the weekend. I've gotten so much more trouble by YouTube. Well, I mean, as we know, like, the internet would not have handled it at all. But just, yeah, like, that the resource that it is so incredible, and that I'm kind of jealous. But the trade-off being that there's no embarrassing videos of me from high school floating around on the internet. So, small wins where you can take them, for sure. Because I definitely, you know, we all had awkward periods. And I was little goth Lynell. Very angsty, very angry at the world. I think I've lost some of my highlight on this one foot. If I get the shadows where they should be, that might just be enough to get it there. I had my last couple years in college, I had internet service through a local like computer place where it was one of those stores you could go and buy computer parts back 100 years ago. Can't remember what it was called, but I had to like go in there in person, pay by check the bill. That's another thing, paying bills by check, having to mail them out. I do know some people still do that. So it's not like such a weird, crazy thing, but I haven't done it in so long that it seems nuts. Still, on occasion, on a rare occasion, get in line in the grocery store behind somebody paying by check, and you're like, I forgot about that. And it's funny because I can remember having this moment, I think when I was a sophomore, and I was sharing an apartment with a girl, because my college only had housing for freshmen, really. It was a small school in the city, so they didn't have a lot of options for you. And I was writing like the electric bill and the bill for the internet. It was like electric and whatever I had to pay by month. And I just had that moment of realization that happens where you're like, oh my God, I'm going to have to do this every month for the rest of my life. And well, at the time, I was thinking about it in terms of not just paying the bills, but, you know, having to sit down, write out the checks, put in the envelope, get stamps, put the stamp on them, get them in the mail. And, I mean, it's still the paying the bills thing. Like, yeah, we got that for the rest of our lives. That's what it is. That moment, it was like, oh my God, I'm an adult. Terrifying. Friday night movie Rent nights, yeah. And how exciting when like Redbox was a more convenient thing, although I will admit to kind of missing the neighborhood video rental place. Found some crazy things there when I was a kid. Like some crazy things at the neighborhood place. And then, Blockbuster comes to town, puts them out of business, and then Blockbuster goes out of business. But Blockbuster never had interesting stuff. Like the local video shop, they'd have like some weird indie movies. And I didn't know what any of that was at the time or what any of it meant, but I liked the weird things. Yeah, wandering the video store, oh my God, 4 hours sometimes trying to, especially if you were picking out your movie with other people. Now it's scrolling, Netflix or Prime or whatever for hours instead. Just trade in one for another, I guess. But yeah, spent a lot of time at the local video place. I could actually walk to it from my house for a while. Down by the tracks. Videos for Less, it was called. Love that place. It's been a long time since they were in any existence. Okay, we're getting close to just like, it's gonna be fine enough. Edge got a little muddy. Maybe that's part of what's bothering me. Let's see if I can pick up some of that paint from last time. This is really detailed fussiness that I'm doing right now, but I would like to be just satisfied with where it is before I really move on. Encyclopedias. Looking at encyclopedias. That's a whole other thing too. Want to know something? Go to encyclopedias. The first paper I ever wrote based on references that I was able to get online was when I was a senior in high school. We had to write like a long, at the time, for being in high school back in the 90s, it was like an 8 or 10 page paper. And I wrote mine on body modifications. And almost everything that I found for that paper, I found through the internet. Of course, living in a small town, there was not a lot of people that were experts in that, but hey, I kind of like to be a little subversive back then. I had the best local VHS store that had a deal of rent 5 weekly videos for $10 a week. Nice. And I could go and swap them at any time within that week. That was a message onto my movie, like, that's amazing. I've actually been shopping eBay for an encyclopedia set. Oh my gosh. And this is serendipitous stumbling on new info. That's cool. First year of high school, I for sure copy-pasted from Encarta and thought I got away with it. Well, I guess that's like the AI thing now, isn't it? They're trying to be able to figure out how they can determine if something was written by AI or not. If the kids actually wrote it. I think I can remember, I think I'm remembering this right, I could be wrong, but when I was 3rd or 4th grade, and there was a paper due, a book report. And I mentioned that the ADHD, right? I didn't remember it at all. Like it didn't register that was a thing that was happening and needing to be done, and I didn't do it. And it was like, there, due right now. And I think out of desperation for having like completely forgotten and not done anything, I wrote down real quick the little description on the back of the book. Like just like, oh my God, I didn't do anything. I have to do something. And I wrote that down. And I think that the instructor was skeptical, but he didn't like call me out really, which is kind of shocking. He definitely had the right to. That was a long time ago. And I think I still remember it because like I felt guilty about it. So it kind of stuck with me. You should hit up secondhand stores. Actually, yeah, you might get lucky. I don't know how many of them will accept encyclopedia sets anymore because I think they get offloaded and they don't know what to do with them. The most amazing set, my dad, there was literally a library in our house that my dad was, he just had so many books. For the last couple of years, you'd be surprised how common those are. Oh, okay. Yeah, people just try to get rid of them constantly, so they just keep getting donated places, so hopefully you can find a good, complete set. But we had this art encyclopedia set. It was at least as many books and huge tomes that went on, but it was all art, like artists and art movements, which helped me out a lot because when I was taking art classes in high school, pouring myself more coffee, one of the things that we'd get is sketchbook assignments. Every week we'd get a list of 4 or 5 things, or 3, I don't remember, that we were supposed to draw in our sketchbooks. And at least one of them would be some piece of like famous artwork by an artist. And I could almost always find it just in that encyclopedia set, and that made my life so much easier back then. Because I had it at home and it was wonderful. Most of it, a lot of it in black and white, but we were doing graphite work, just pencil sketches, so it worked out. But I did a lot with those books. And I think those got donated because the reality is like there's just not enough room. There's just not enough, like, books are heavy and they take up a lot of space, so at some point you got to start being a little bit like judicious about what you have and what you keep. So I do have quite a few of my dad's book collection in terms of his specifically art books, but some things did get cut, and I think that encyclopedia set went. My sister might have, or she took something, I don't remember. Work to your advantage. You learned a lot about value. Yeah, absolutely. I think twice in my years of high school I had to do the Mona Lisa as a sketchbook study. And every time I did it, somebody would ask to keep the drawing, and I'd always give them away. One was a teacher. Ooh, speaking of high school art. I have something kind of embarrassing. It's me. This is me. High school art. I did this giant painting. It was supposed to be a pop art project, and it was the one time that we had to stretch our own canvases. And so it was this big 4 by 6 foot canvas, and like so angsty. But that's me in high school. Got Lynell next to my giant lipstick painting, which was in my parents' house up until my mom was moving out. And then she's like, do you want this? Do you want to take it home? And I was kind of like, no. The turtleneck craft buds. Yeah, you know what? That's another funny story, is that when the movie The Craft came out, I think I was a freshman or sophomore, and one of my friend's little brothers asked her if I could get him a Sega Genesis. And she's like, what are you talking about? It's like, poof, Sega Genesis. It's like, he saw, I guess, The Craft, or at least posters for it, and apparently they dressed very close to how I did, so he assumed that I was a witch, and witches have magic, so I could make him a Sega Genesis. Well, needless to say, I could not, but I always remember that. It's funny. Yes, all the layered necklaces, this old jacket that I was wearing that at some point got completely covered in like a net of safety pins. man, I kind of wish I still had that. I think that was, I would like raid my dad's closet for old clothes from like the 70s and sometimes wear that stuff. I still honestly have a couple things. I went through this phase when I was going to resale shops a lot. Especially when I was like in 8th grade and I went through this like punk rock and grunge phase. So I'd buy like old man pants and sweaters and things, and my mom was like, you need to stop doing that. No more secondhand stores. Well, she also went through that with me with the goth stuff too. You're killing it, especially next to the high pop lipstick piece. Oh my gosh. That ended up going out on the road. It's huge, and I'm like, it won't even fit in my car if I wanted to take it home. I guess I could have taken the frame apart, but yeah. At that point, we were moving so many things out of that house, I'm just like, let it go. We put it, do you remember that? We put it out in the street, and somebody took it, and I don't know if they took it to like recycle the canvas, or if somebody's like, oh, big piece of art, I'm going to throw it up on something, or what, but it went. Like, we put it out on the side of the road, and within a short period of time, it was gone. That was like, I really hope somebody painted over it, because how weird to think that somebody would ever want to keep that. They did a terrible job of blending the background colors because they weren't blended at all. It was painted up. All the things wrong with it. Anyway, okay, so watercolor part's done. Still damp around here, but I can start working in other areas. So let me clear up my workspace a bit. Moment. I remember what I'm doing around here. But yeah, that's a funny one. There is some other picture. It might have been from the same day. I know of standing next to some other. I think it was here's an oil pastel piece that I've done. And here's a shocker. I haven't used oil pastels since high school. They made a fortune. Well, I doubt it. But that was the one and only time I ever stretched my own canvas. That was part of the school. And I always think I'd like to do that. Like really have control over my painting surfaces, but I haven't. I did pick up some canvas paper, like paper fabric, whatever, from, there's a used art supply store not far from here. They probably ever used the canvas. I could probably name names of local artists that might have picked it up. Good. Well, I'm glad it went to somebody's good use. I hope so. It would have taken a few layers of gesso to get that to cover it up. I don't think it was the most high quality frame, but somebody that knows what they're doing could make that work. I have this little scrap paper here that is something I cut out found during a stream some weeks ago, that I wanted to put in here. And it says, my morning shower sets the tone for the day. It's where I get invigorated and energized to tackle my to-dos and when I do my best, most creative thinking. And I love it because it's funny to me, because I don't that way at all. I'd like to, but I don't. So I'm going to incorporate that in here too, because it's all about like that overwhelming all the thoughts and things. All right, my cat is no longer in the room. I'm pausing his cat videos. So that is going to go on here. I haven't pre-pulled out any other bits yet. So that will be something to work on. I have some of my markers, my pen brushes, palette knives. Just need some paints and things to get going with and get started with some of these the craziness that I want to start building up. Gesso and sandpaper, yeah, for sure. I have re-gessoed things. Plenty. Oh, turn off the cat video and Watson comes back. It's like, hey, I know you did that. I'm sorry. There you go. Okay, he's back. He's right behind me. He kind of blends in with the black chair a little bit with the lighting, but that's his seat. I'm in the studio. That's his spot. Oh, and then he comes back. He just wants me to have a video on going all the time. I was going to say that's such an entrepreneurial attitude for shower start morning, etc. All the best intentions in the world doesn't for me pan out to the reality. Even if I have that energizing and invigorating thing, the minute I step out and step into another room, it's kind of gone. And I'm like, wait, what am I supposed to be doing? What should I do now? Oh, let me go down this rabbit hole for 4 hours and not accomplish anything. All right, I'm gonna spin around for a second here and grab some paint tubes. Put my drawer. What do we got? Just grabbing random handfuls of stuff. I don't have a lot of work space on my desk right now. I'm gonna share with you, and this is gonna be embarrassing for me. Oh, question, yes, go. While I show you, this is what my workspace looks like right now. There is no empty table space at all for the desk going all the way down to the edge and all the way out. Now my computer desk is not much better. So that's me sharing the reality of this studio. But yes, if you have questions, I am game. What you got? I start setting up some paints here that we want to use. I'm not going to lean into the reds at the moment. At a point where I'm realizing that the topics I want to explore could be considered tender, dealing with psychology, philosophy, and religion. How do you feel okay to show it? Productive studio, sometimes. How do you get the courage to trust your own voice and put that into your art? Yeah, I mean, it requires being brave, no doubt. I definitely work with some things that are sensitive. Like I know, like I can't even show some of my work at community fairs because it's not friendly enough. And I think that there's some people get upset because it's very colorful, lots of color. So people are drawn in, and then it's very serious topics and some things that might be upsetting to people, and some folks get upset about it. So I understand where you're coming from. I think it's just, you gotta do it and you gotta find your voice. And you're only gonna find your voice by doing it and trying it and experimenting and seeing what feels authentic to you. The more authentic you can be, the better it's going to be. And that's gonna give you your direction. I'm gonna do these because finding the right venue will help, of course. Online venue in your own spaces is always yours. I'm going to do these because they're intensely personal, but also scary to show to people because of the topics. As you said, with not showing them at the shows, it's the specifically the family community show thing. If I go into fairs in the city, I'd probably be all right. It's I think you just got to do it, and it is. Finding once you have it, once you're comfortable with what you have created or what you're doing, how what you want to say is coming out onto paper, then finding the right venue. But first get comfortable with your own artistic voice, how to speak about it. Not just to talk about the topic, but also like how you want to speak about it. What's the feeling you want people to walk away from? Is it shocking to educate? Is it to just show people in a gentle way that things can be a way you don't expect? Or is it to tackle a solution? Like you kind of, if you know what feeling you want people to walk away from the work with, that will help too, because that will affect things. Like I use bright colors and some kind of low-key humor and things like that, because even though I talk about some things that are very serious, like women's rights and mental health, it's also a little tongue-in-cheek. I want to present the ideas, but also have some element of humor and hope to kind of call people in. Yeah, the feeling, yeah, absolutely. That's a great place to kind of start. And just play and experiment. Like, create a lot of work. And it might just sort of naturally come as you do that. I'm going to start throwing some colors down here. I want to go... I'm not at this point going to grab any of my reds because there's a lot of red and violets in this painting, so I want to contrast that with very bright and intense colors that are not exactly in that same family. Green, orange, bright yellow, like some blue, and then eventually I will put some more reds in there too, just to balance it and such. But let's see. I think I grabbed. I'm just like reaching into the drawer, seeing what comes. Let's see. I don't know what that. What else we got? What else? All kinds of stuff. But we'll throw some cobalt blue. With a deep green permanent that has some blue tones, some cooler tones too. I don't want it to get too hot. Yeah, this one's about done. Let's see if I can finish this one off. Welcome back if you're still on. Hi, Cheese. Oh, cool. Bye, Mary. Have a good session. Good day to you, too. All right, I'm getting the paint on me as opposed to my canvas. Come on. Trying to get all the life out of this guy before it's done, but I'm officially pretty much there. All right, you did your job. I have a backup somewhere. And I'm officially covered in paint already. Okay. Is that where to start? Is that good enough to start? I think that's good enough to start. I will make adjustments. It's going to be a process of a lot of layers. So, get rid of some of this. I'm just gonna put it over to the side in the almost in the one spot that had a little green. No spot has it. Okay, I'm gonna start with throwing some color along the edges here. Try putting the paint on the palette, not your fingers. You know, I'll consider it. I appreciate your feedback, but you know, I kind of have my way. Nothing wrong with finger painting, by the way. I do that from time to time. Madness. All right, let's do some of this. I'm going to move this lovely garland, which is very pretty, but I don't want to get anything on it. My friend makes these garlands. She does these amazing monster dolls, and I may have shown them on stream before. Just trying to make sure my paint on my hands is wet before I go grabbing it. Like, this is a cat one. It's got that crazy stuff on the belly. The fuzzy tail. Absolutely love this one. She just sent me this one day. I have a really creepy one. This guy who's got the most ridiculous teeth, that she doesn't usually do them like that, but because she did and it was so creepy, I loved it. So these are, I love these. I have several of her dolls. I buy them for gifts for kids a lot too, but they're like a decorative art thing as much as something that is okay to have for kid. They're actually not probably going to hand them to the roughest care, you know, don't give them to your dog to chew on, but monstrousfish.com. I'm helping her with some branding stuff too, so on her website, she's got some of those guys. She makes, I don't have any, but she makes these grump bags. they're just like little beanbag with like a really grumpy face. And they're hilarious and amazing. I just love it. I'm actually going to be seeing her this weekend. We're, I think, probably going to end up meeting in the city. She lives a couple hours away from me in Indiana, next state over. So every now and again we try to meet somewhere and have a artsy day, or we've done like art getaway weekends, which is always awesome. And I recommend to anybody, if you have like artsy people near you that you can hang out with, like rent a place for a week or like host an art weekend. If you have space for people to work on things or not, or whatever kind of thing you're into doing, just like a co-working, like everybody set up a table. We're just gonna, you know, drink coffee or wine or beer, whatever you like, and hang out and make stuff. That is some of the best time. It's weird. The colors are looking a little... This is actually like a straight cobalt orange, and it looks so red. Hold on. On the camera. Something goofy in the lighting or my settings. Something else to play around with until I can figure it out. All right. Get a actual brush here. It often will go back in at some point and cover some of this up with white gesso. That's been a texture that I really like to use and incorporate. You can see the paper that I'm working on. Face cam takes up too much space. So I'm like incorporating this lady over here a little bit. I want to incorporate her so that she's like kind of part of the background, but still visible enough to, you know, make people ask questions about what the heck's going on over there, maybe. I definitely want to do some drawing, some ink drawing on here too. And I'm thinking of like maybe octopus elements, because I like, you know, the 8 arms, the tentacles, like, you know, you're juggling so many things. I kind of like that as something that can be used in there as a bit of a metaphor. Got some new paper to try. I did the stream where I was experimenting with vellum to see if I could make that work for like folding, like making the color and then folding it. I got, Mary Beth had suggested a different type of paper for me to use, and I just got it. I ordered it and I got it in the mail yesterday, so I'm very excited to try that. paints. Oh, I got white paint somewhere. I think I need to buy more white paint. That's the thing. Always having to buy stuff. It's expensive. That's why you gotta try to sell stuff too. Working to work. That's a kind of interesting way to look at it. That's kind of it. Working to work. But it's the work that I want to do the most. Talking to somebody last weekend who's a musician. Goodness. And yeah, the light temperature on here is a little almost pinkish. I need to figure that out. They were talking and asking about, what do you do when you're not inspired, when you're kind of just, how do you get yourself back into the mode of wanting to create again when you're just not feeling good about what you're doing and nothing's working? We talked about that a little while. And there's somewhere I was going to go with that. I know working to work. I managed to record 3 new videos yesterday. That's incredible. Look at you. Getting stuff done. How about posting any? Have you posted any videos yet? I haven't seen them, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. If they're up, I don't know. I would see right away, but I would like to know. If you do, I'll definitely check it out. So this is just painting chaos for the sake of painting chaos at the moment, kind of. It's just all entirely like intuitive, laying down colors. Some of it will get covered up, probably a lot of it. Layers of things. Yeah, we were talking about how oftentimes when you're an artist or a musician or a writer, whatever it is, we don't say, I'm Lynell who makes art. We say I'm an artist, or I'm not John Doe who is a musician who plays guitar. I am a musician. If you can see what I'm going with there, like we identify so very closely with these things that when things aren't going well or when we're not inspired, we take it as like it's us. It is us who are flawed, who are not doing right. So I'm currently trying to not be a perfectionist and also find my pulse around here somewhere. Maybe just start with posting it on private. Like, put it up, do the thumbnail, put it up, but don't publish it publicly. Like, take that next step. And then it's just a matter of like hitting the publish button at the point that you feel ready. Like, make small steps are fine. I just have to try to do a little until you start wanting to do more. Time to go make the donuts. Yeah, that's it. Then that's it. It's like you got to do the work. Like inspiration, if you just wait for inspiration, well, you might be waiting an awfully long time. But inspiration will likely come to you if you are doing the work. It is more likely to see you ready for it. If you want to consider it like an external force. A lot of professional people who, do this sort of thing as for a living. Oh, here's a little kitty cat. What you doing, love? Oh, wet paint. Careful. I've heard of plenty say that inspiration is for amateurs. Like you just got to show up and do the work. Push through, work through, whatever it is. Yeah, do the thing a little over and over until you get more comfy with it. Yeah. that's kind of, oh, here's your feet. That's basically it. He's getting bored and he's thinking about his tummy, even though he's got an hour to go before it's his lunchtime. Did you say hi to everybody? Yeah, say hi. He's my cute boy. It is humid and sticky in here, and I'm going to be covered with cat hair sticking to my skin. But it's okay. Yes, it's okay, because I love you. My studio assistant. Are you bored with your birdies? I don't remember putting... Apparently I set my watercolor palette over there, and I don't remember doing it at all. Yes. Okay, we're... Always on the nose. Always. Okay. I'm alright. Alright, yes. I'm going to start gluing in some things next. Oh, and something from the last stream, I was talking about how going down like rabbit holes and all the things that you want to do and learn and try. And I was trying to remember, you know, there's the quote, "Jack of all trades, master of none." And there is a follow-up to that. It's not just that. It's Jack of all trades, master of none, but oftentimes better than master of one. And where that comes from is, oh, I can't remember the name now, but a writer who was writing about William Shakespeare back in the 16th century, 1562 or something like that. And he was using that to describe William Shakespeare. And it was done in a compliment. It's a compliment, referring to like knowing a lot of little things about a lot of different things can make you better at the thing that you perhaps are most interested in or doing. You might not be a master of it, but it's going to all add into this global knowledge that can feed all the different areas. So I like that, because I'm definitely that. I'm always distracted by all the random things that I want to learn and try and do. And I go down the rabbit hole until my curiosity is satisfied, and then I'm bored with it. The only thing that has consistently outlasted that cycle for my entire life has been my interest in art, but then I apply that cycle to my interest in art. Like I constantly am buying, oh, here it comes again, constantly buying new paints or materials or different things that I want to try. No, you can't go in my, no, it's wet paint. I know you want to help, but you can't get your paws in the wet paint or you're going to have an upset bath time. Nobody wants that, right? Pretty sure my baby doesn't want that. That feeds into what I'm going through. The more I learn, the more my own art is impacted. Absolutely, that's how the cycle goes. And then there's the other thing, well, the more you learn sometimes, the more it feels like you don't know about a topic. That certainly happens to me quite a bit. Where does that little script? There it is. Yeah, for sure, that's a thing. And it's, sorry, my brain just, like, synapses skipped over something. It can become like, oh man, I really don't know what I'm doing. What business do I have doing any of this? But that's just the growing, learning process. Of course, my glue nozzle is clogged up. Of course it is. This thing. I think I messed it up because once upon a time I cut it a little bit, making it like slightly wider than the original dispensing hole was, and ever since then it like always wants to clog. So that's probably my own fault. So I'm going to incorporate, there we go. The quote that I read to you is in my little clipping here. This into the piece with the paint things. And it will appropriately get pretty covered up by stuff, but shine through a little bit, and that will work for the meaning of it to me in the context of this piece. Like the way you'd like to be, the way you'd like to function, but it's never really within your grasp or your reach to do that. Despite your best efforts and intentions. It's always like figuring out what actually will work for you. That's the tricky part. I really like this therapist that I have right now who talks about that. She's like, you know, you have essentially like a novelty-seeking mind. So you have to find ways to incorporate the novelty or the little hits of dopamine that you crave into the things that you need to do to be organized. So somehow figuring that out. We haven't gotten as far as actually doing that yet, but we were just talking about that, and it's so true. The theme of your YouTube channel is I don't know what I don't know. It's most basic. Yeah, absolutely. I love that. There's always so much to learn. And I try to be pretty open about the fact that I'm no expert in anything. I do what I do. There's plenty of messing around. There's plenty of failing, for sure. But it's also just all part of the creative process, too. Experimenting, learning. Being an artist is as much all of that as it is coming up with some, you know, amazing finished pieces, right? Some people get really lucky and they make some things that make them famous or whatever, but maybe they never actually had that much to say, or never did even actually say that much, but I don't know. It's important to me more than to become like presented by like Christie's of New York or something, to have meaning and purpose in what I do. And a lot of art, don't get me wrong, a lot of artists do have that are doing great things, certainly. But that is my priority, is figuring, it's, as much as I'm always messing around with my materials and my mediums, it is at least as much about figuring out how to say what I want to say. And that's always developing and growing. So let me see, where are we now? I think I still have a lot of paint on this palette. I got a little carried away there. That's the thing I hate with acrylic paint. You don't use it. You know what? Let's get a little nuts. This might really make my paper buckle a bit over here. This is a watercolor block, so all but like this section up here is glued around the edges, but it still, which helps with the buckling. And then I'm not taping it down. I can move this around as I need to, but it's still definitely start to bubble a little bit, and sometimes you do even then have to kind of wait for it. wait for it to come back. So I'm gonna just let this paint become a bit of a background area to put other stuff on top of. It's gonna be, at the moment at least, quite dark because of that, but it will change. Waste not, want not. Now, when I say that, that's a not follow in my footsteps kind of thing. It works for the way that I work to do this, but that's not always going to be the case. And just using up paint for the sake of using up paint, if it's not right for what you're doing, I don't recommend necessarily. But it can be very tempting to do, and it can be a very easy way to kind of mess things up for you if you try to force stuff, depending on how you work and the type of thing you're doing. I'm not going really heavy in my application up here yet because I do want to incorporate some inking directly on the paper first. So that's going to come at some point here. I don't know if that probably won't be today, based on time and everything. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe. Watson, if you come over here, my hands are full of paint. Can't grab you, so tread carefully. All right. It's very adorable, but he's a character too. Be careful of his little paws in the paper. Hey you. Hey you, what you doing? You wanna paint too? I think that's probably not a good idea. He's walking across my lap. All right, yeah, you can go that way. That's fine, you can go that way. I don't think there's anything he can destroy over there. Sort of like, you know, when your cat walks across your computer keyboard when you're trying to work, except that in this case the letters from the keys could come off. You got yourself backed into a corner over there, kiddo. What are you gonna do now? One thing when I bring back in like the white gesso later on is that, well, I am kind of leaning in absolutely into the chaos of all of this, and that's kind of the thing, I guess, but it still allows me an opportunity to pull back what I need to pull back, control the focal point a little bit. to an extent, to the extent that I need it to for what I'm doing. Just a little bit more in this green to go, and maybe clean myself up a little bit. Alright. Proper mess has been made. Put this so that my cat cannot get into it. It's really weird now. And water. I've been keeping retired towels around. Like old bathroom hand towels or bath towels that have just developed too many holes to be used that way anymore, as they're meant to be. But they still have some life in them, and the studio is the perfect place for them to live out that life, as far as I'm concerned. Okay. You know, if you're not making a mess, are you really making art? Okay. So that's all quite wet. Maybe I will work on a little bit of the inking. Try not to shove my hand in anything wet when I do it. Okay. Pencil to start. Pencil, pencil, pencil. There's one that's actually sharpened. That's what I want. I think you can see Watson is like right here, kind of behind me. He just like got himself cornered in a little spot back there. What's he doing? What's he doing? You're gonna get down. Mm-hmm. Here, you got a spot. Oh, there's more to walk. Oh. There. He safely escaped. With no paint on his paws. So we'll call that a win. I'll back off a little bit. He's particularly good today. I could find myself getting into some of the really fancy coffee stuff, like, you know, AeroPress or whatever, but I find, like, as much as I like good coffee, I tend to value quantity first. So we use a drip brewer for it, and so we can make a full 12 cups at a time. And that gets us through a good chunk of the day. We used to, when I first moved in here, didn't have a drip press. This was a long time ago now, and had been given a lovely little French press. The only problem is it made like 2 cups at a time, which is never enough coffee when you got a couple people. Like, maybe just me drinking it would be alright, but I don't know. Not enough coffee is a sad problem to have. I might drink too much coffee. It's a possibility. It is certainly a possibility. Alright, I'm having some of the... I'm making very light lines right now because I just want to see them well enough to use my pen to ink in some stuff, but these are just guidelines for me. But I'm going to have some like tendrils coming in from the sides, some coming out from her head also. And by putting the ink down at this level, whatever ends up coming later in terms of layers of anything, collage, paints, etc., will at least allow it to shine through. What you yelling about? I can't even see him. What are you yelling? Oh, you're right by me. Hello. You stinker. Bored and hungry is his problem. Which is a love for the cat. My dad used to always say this quote. I forget where it comes, which no. Oh, baby. Uh-oh. And there it is. Paint on the paw, love. Hold on. You cannot move. Mama needs to move. This is why. You can't get up here when I'm painting. No, that's a very good time. Right up to this little butt. Oh my goodness. You get it? Let me see. Yeah, let me see. That one seems okay. You get it? Alright, you go. Of course, you did. You stinker. Cat life indeed. You're in trouble. He's like, oh, you told me no? How about I just do it this way? Yeah, it's gonna be like octopus tendrils too. There is a part of me that's wary about that being like some like creeper curvy thing, right? I don't know. But it's going to be just incorporated in a specific way, so I think that it'll be okay. Okay. Well, I'm not doing all 8, I'm just doing some of them. Sorry, I had to do that. It just called out and said, do that now. Alright, I got some pins here. Let me find. Nope, I don't want a brush. Here's a nice tiny one. Got my little couple of different inking implements. There are a couple 0.05s. I have several, probably at a 0.005. And then I have several brush. There are more than these somewhere, but probably in various like bags that I carry around because I always like to have some drawing implements on me. Okay. Cat hair in the nose, man. Alright. Okay. Is this dry? Yeah, basically. Okay, so I can reach my arm over it and not make a big mess of things. Alright, I got my very, very tiny pen. It's a 0.005. So I'm going to start with that, and if I think it needs to be a little heavier, I'll go up another 10 to a point. It's a very fine line, and it's coming across as not so different from like my the lines and the character that I drew in. It doesn't flow the smoothest on the watercolor paper. And I don't know. To be honest, I don't know how old this pen is either. So it might be drying out a little bit, but I'm gonna start with this and see. So I'm not just going to outline them, but I do also want to create some textures in there. You see that, right? Just script a little bit. As I lean my arm into wet paint, because I am as bad as my cat. He settled down on the chair beside me. I think he's officially annoyed enough for pouting. I don't know which. No, it's fine. It's just the paper. I kind of like it being super fine like that, though. Oh, still cat hair. Oh my gosh. Hi, hey. Oh, inescapable. It's not as good of a feeling drawing with this pen on the kind of rough texture of the paper. There's certainly always the idea that if I decide I'm not happy with it, hey, guess what I can do? I can cover that up. Oh, I watched a really terrible movie yesterday. And I was just like done with the day. Tornadoes and pans to the area. I'm like, I just want to put on something mindless and relax a little bit. And I just picked this, as I do, some random movie on Amazon. What was it called? It's like a brand new thing. The Retributioners? Something like that. Oh, it was so bad. I didn't really read it or like look it up or anything before. I just like, oh, this just looks like some random scary movie or whatever. And so I put that on. Turns out that it's got like this tie to all these metal bands. And it was like embarrassingly cheesy bad. It went back and forth between being like the super, especially the end. The end was almost redeemed part of it. Like it went from being like a 0.5 star to 1.5 stars because of how ridiculous it got in the end. But like parts of it felt like it was some kind of made-for-TV Christian movie or something. And then it went full on Peter Jackson brain dead style gore. And that was the redeeming thing. It just went way over the top and nuts, but like not only did it have the kind of not great music in in the movie, but apparently, and I didn't know this because I don't know these things, but Adele came in and he's like, hey, what garbage are you watching? That's so-and-so and that's so-and-so. Like, the people from the bands actually had small roles in the movie too. I've seen Hell House LLC. I like that that one. We watched it again recently. I did see that one, and I did like that. That was a pretty good one. I think there might be a few more since then. I'm not sure exactly, but that's a good one. The best part of horror, you can never trust the poster. That's the thing, and even reviews, because like even good horror movies are never going to have the really high reviews like a really great drama or something is going to have. So you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt, and sometimes you just put something on and see. And usually I'll just watch it. I don't care. Like if it's really bad, I'll just be like maybe reading something at the same time that I have that on, and that's kind of what I was doing yesterday. But the end got very, very nutty and ridiculous and gory. But I would just tell you about that movie to recommend. Do not watch it. It's not good. I have those. I mean, there have been some really good. There's really great horror movies sometimes. I don't remember. There have been some that I've seen recently that I really liked, and I probably would need to look it up. I use an app to track what I watch because I don't remember it. So I use the Letterboxd app. Some horror is A grade because it's pumped with money but no plot. That's why you have to seek out B grade, because there's some with rad plot lines. Yeah. Some of the big horror movies anymore, like the Annabelles and the Conjurings and that sort of thing. They're finely made horror movies, but yeah, they don't really have much to say. They're just about audience-pleasing kind of stuff. Jump scares, like, are such a crux, like, that people use, and I kind of hate it. You need to earn it. Like, if a really well-earned jump scare, I don't have a problem with, but that's when all you got is really loud stings and no. But it is an interesting art form, and I am forever fascinated with my own fascination of them. I was following, I think I missed, there was a Kickstarter, I think, for Indie Fund, GoFund, whatever the heck that site is, that was working on releasing a movie, and I've been following it, that was about like the psychology, mental health, tying in mental health with people being fans of horror movies. And I've been curious about that, but it's sort of fallen off the radar, and then apparently there's been some issues with the funding and the way it was being run, and somebody got ousted from the project for not being honest about things, and all this drama. It's like, well, I guess that movie's probably never happening. It was like a documentary. But I was like, I'd like to hear that. I mean, you can read some stuff like where they talk about, oh, it's a safe place to process difficult things, trauma, stuff like that, but I don't know. I feel like there might be more, and I'm curious. Letterboxd is the only way I can keep track too. It's a great site. It is. We'll look for that. The past 2 weeks I've been partially studying the art of horror. Ooh, how to actually portray it well instead of just slash. All about suggestion and what you don't show. Absolutely. That's why I think sometimes really great horror movies can be very low budget movies. Like, it's about creating the psychology of it more than a big either CGI or rubber monster, guy in a suit or whatever, which usually looks ridiculous and undoes your suspension of disbelief. Really good, to me, in my opinion. And I haven't studied a lot, so I'd be really curious about the things you learned. But in my opinion, the best horror talks about something serious through and the horror movie is just the medium. Like, they're using metaphor and stuff like that. And it doesn't have to be serious, ultimately, and it doesn't have to be like a super serious movie, but if it's touching on something real. I don't know, there was it earlier this year? The movie Smile came out. I don't know if you saw that. It's on Amazon now. And that one, well, it has plenty of like ridiculousness and silliness in some of like the effects and stuff. It's talking about trauma. And while people who I don't think have necessarily dealing with a lot of their own trauma were like, the end was dumb, it was ridiculous and it didn't make sense, I'm like, no, it made sense, man. That was intense. And my niece, who was just a teenager, like, she came by and before I said anything, she'd seen the movie too, and she's like, dude, that movie was about trauma. The ending was so intense. I'm like, girl, on the wavelength. It's funny. Alien doesn't show the actual alien until ages into the film. Yes, and imagine how bad it would be if the first thing you see is like the guy in the rubber suit. Like, they made it scary by not showing it, by just suggesting it, and when you do see it, it's mostly like glimpses and really well lit, and it's just the psychological. Yeah, the Babadook, grief and depression, that's a good one, which I definitely get that too. There's some trauma elements in there too. Man. And that movie is so well done in the way that the kid and the mother, the acting. The kid is fingernails on the chalkboard in such an effective way. And yet, it's so tragic for the child in most of the movie, which comes to essentially a happy ending. And again, people who don't see that think the ending is dumb, maybe, or whatever. But that's where it makes sense. That if you understand the level of metaphor, like, it works really well. If you're just looking at it as a monster movie, maybe not so much. That's one reason why, like, Alien, I know a lot of people who actually like Aliens, the second one, better, where it's more like less psychological horror, more action horror, or action sci-fi with some horror. But yeah, you see dudes crawling around in the alien suits, like, fully lit. It's not as scary, and it doesn't have any of the kind of psychological impact nearly as much as the first one. The atmosphere was like the thing in that movie. The way it looked, how gorgeous it was. Yeah, so many good ones. Shining is a favorite of mine still, even though you hear about how awful Stanley Kubrick was to work with on that movie, which is unfortunate, but it's a good one. The atmosphere again, and I actually liked Dr. Sleep quite a bit too. I thought they did a nice job kind of branching the difference between what it should be following the movie versus the book, and kind of intertwining them into one movie. I understood it so much I struggled to rewatch it. Yeah, But horror is used so often as an allegory to mental illness because that's how it can feel. Oh yeah. Hereditary. That's like generational trauma. That one, a generational mental illness, like that passes on. A graphic novel is a supernatural thriller, but it's definitely driven by mental illness states. Oh, that sounds cool. Like, that sounds right up my alley. That is the stuff that I love. So hopefully it comes together really well for you. I'm excited for that. And it sounds like you're really putting in the work for the storytelling and the artwork and everything, so I'm sure it will be awesome. He's back. We're getting close, I know. About 15 minutes to lunchtime, right? I know, man. I swear that cat can read the clock. He knows exactly when it's time to get fed. The good thing about that, though, because he's fed like on a schedule, it actually helps remind me to eat as well. Because I can be that person that gets caught up in what I'm doing, and all of a sudden I'll be like, oh, I feel so sick. Why? Oh, I haven't eaten in 10 hours. So I often get my lunch at the same time he gets his. That works pretty well. He's my own food timer as well as for himself. I switched to a 0.05 line marker because my thinner one, while I'm still getting really close to the same line quality, it was just not wanting to write as well. That was a micron. This one's a Derwent. And I really like the quality of drawing with these markers. And it's funny because I'd had one that I'd had for a really long time, and I think it was somewhat early in the pandemic during the shutdown, the time everything shut down, where it ran out of ink. It no longer worked, and I really wanted to get some more of them. And at that time, and I don't know if it was just because it was like supply chain stuff during the pandemic, but I could only get it by ordering it from a supplier in Sweden to get a few of them. And I don't know, are these made there? No, it says it's made in China, but I don't know where the distributor's from. But I think I paid way too much for them because I really wanted it, a few of these pens. I could only find them from that one supplier. And I ordered them and they took forever to come. But now I have a bunch, and hopefully at this point you can find them easily. I would think. I don't know. The only downside to these is that they're not water safe, so to speak. If I took my watercolor paint and started brushing across, this would smear. So I can't put any more wet media like that on top of this at this point. I always really liked, when I was young, much like high school, college age, I really enjoyed working with pen and ink like this, and like tiny little detailed drawings. Often they were kind of gross or disturbing or something because I was a angsty and depressed child. And I got away from that just because I couldn't figure out how to translate it into a broader scale of what I wanted to do in colored work. And back and forth, I'd try different things, work with it in different ways. Try doing inking and then digitally sketching it, but then I would never do like the detail-y stuff, and I did it that way. So it's kind of fun to incorporate it back in some manner, even when it's just like a little bit of something in a piece like this. This will, like, parts of it are still going to even get covered up. It's just going to become an element in a bigger thing. I've also never been great at like one really nice line. Like, I couldn't probably ever be a really great cartoon inker. There's smooth lines. I'm working on, and I've tried to be, like, I've fought that in myself, but at some point you gotta stop fighting what is or isn't natural for you. You gotta figure out a way to work with it. Listen, mister, we already did this. You're gonna get your toes in there again? Try to make me have to stop and go feed you, huh? That's what it is, isn't it? I know. We're almost there. We're almost there. He's a little ham with his face. Aww. Yes, this is why my nose always itches from kitty fur, because you're so cute. Everybody should have a studio cat, I think. Or a cat, period, whether you have a studio or not. You're telling me it's almost lunchtime? I think you are. Oh, cutie. Don't be so sure. I've been doing lines for months now, and it's actually working. Boring in this book, but I make it like my warm-up. I get shakes real bad, but because it's working from the shoulder, it overrides that. I have a studio dog. Heck yeah! I should have said pet, but yes, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, if that's what you want to do and you work at it, I think anything that you put the time into, you can get really good at. Shakes are annoying. And of course, working like this is not as much. I'm not doing as much. I'm doing like tiny little bits on here and stuff. But yeah, let me zoom out for a second, see the overall piece for a minute. Less. This is a good start on getting things. The trickiest part for me is always getting this character. Like, I want her to be a little bit separated from some of this outer stuff, but I also need it to incorporate on some level too. Like, I gotta find that line to walk. Tiny details always catch me. I like how it's coming along. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think that for details, it's gonna be just like what you're doing with getting the nice line work. Are you using pens for it, or are you using like brushes or quills, if I might ask? Or like a brush pen, perhaps? I mean, there's so many different approaches you can use. I have so many random like quills and things, and I always like playing with them, but you definitely need to be quite masterful with them to get a nice smooth line. I always like them better for having a more jaggedy, rougher, inconsistent line, because that's how they work for me best. Yeah, the shakes. I'm actually, like, right now I'm doing pretty well, even having had my coffee and such. I'm barely. I saw my neurologist yesterday. She always checks in on that. There are times when it's very difficult, where I can't paint fine lines very well. Especially standing up and painting, where if I don't have the proper term, the stick, you can kind of like lean your hand again, that helps a little bit. Sticking to graphite pencils and fine liners, really want to push on, but gotta drill the fundamentals into me or I never catch. That's very good. Like, you're doing all the right things, and you're doing it for well, it sounds like. I've always struggled with discipline to really get that stuff well. So you're gonna do great. You're putting so much like time into really mastering what you're doing that I have no doubt that you're gonna rock it. That's the way. That's excellent. I kind of work a little bit like a crazy person, like, oh, I'm gonna, just focus on studying this, that, the other thing, and then it's always like a little bit of that, and then I get distracted by the next thing. And for me, I've learned to take what I can get where I can get it. That, like, what works best for me is like, because I have in the past spent a lot of time, judging myself by my failure to do things that the right way or whatever, or the way that I think should be the way I do them is what I should say. So whatever can work for you is the right way in terms of learning stuff and going with it and making it work for you. I just love it. I love it. I love it. I really appreciate hearing that. Like you, I suffer badly with jumping mine, so it's taken all your effort for you to try it. It sounds like you're doing it. Just keep it up. And even more props to you, with that being a struggle to stay on with it. The skills that you learn just from mastering your own instincts, That's a huge thing in and of itself. For sure. And that's the skill you can probably carry on to other areas as you learn that and get better at it. It sounds like you're doing great. Well, you do you and keep motivating me, and I'll do me and eventually get there. Yeah, absolutely. It'll die in old age. It will sell for millions. Well, hey, at least you made it at some point, because I don't know that even after I die that anything will sell for millions, but I hope that it does. And I hope yours does too. Even better bonus if it happens before we die. Anyway, on that note, I remember there being this show, really remember this, this really short-lived sitcom, I think early 2000s. Do you remember the actress Lori Petty? She was Tank Girl. That's where I knew her from primarily back then. Which I loved that movie back when I was a teenager. But she was cast in this sitcom, and the premise of it was that she was an artist, like a fine artist, trying to make it. And one of the, I don't know if it got 5 episodes maybe before it was canceled, but I remember in one of them, she fakes that she's dead, that she's an artist that's passed on to try to get, and then to try to do that work, that angle of like, dead artists sell better. And then, the galleries pick up her work, and they're like, oh, what a tragic existence she had, and look at how intense and meaningful her work is. So she's trying to pretend that she's no longer alive to get her work shown. And eventually the jig is up on that, and I don't remember exactly all the details of it, but I mean, it's not great in the sense that it just feeds that stereotype, but it was funny. So But you gotta have to laugh at some of that ridiculousness too. I don't remember what that show is called. I'll have to look at it, see if I can find it. So you're saying I should plan my future. Well, it didn't work for her ultimately. And I think that it mostly just works for, if I may be quite frank, white men. Unfortunately, there's still huge amounts of lack of equality and representation in the arts. Which, if you can figure out how to use that to your advantage, could be helpful. And like, I think it's possible. I remember one of the first times I did one of the comic book conventions in the Artist Alley quite a while ago. One of the first people that came up to me was somebody who was doing interviews, video interviews for video or podcast or something, and they asked me, like, the question that they asked me wanted to talk about was what it's like being there as a woman. Because, well, especially then, there was definitely the minority. I think now there's a lot more, but in terms of those that are published or shown in galleries and shown in museums, it's still a long way off from being equal. But we all have to be equal, and I have to set the standard. I'll be the first woman to die and make millions. Oh, there you go. It's good to have goals. My goodness. I think that when I decided to go into arts, like, you know, there's still so much of that idea of the starving artist. And I thought I was going into illustration as a way to, like, avoid that being the case. But as it turned out, illustration seems entirely like my quite perfect fit. And I do actually sometimes still do some illustration work here and there, as long as the project is right. And I think it'll be fun and interesting, but I don't think I was ever the greatest at it either. Well, because of the way I'm doing these guys are taking some time. Now my tender subjects in art will make a real splash. Oh no. One day at a time. Hopefully it will just simply be successful because it's a great piece of work. And I believe that will be the case. I'm getting close to a good point to stop here. This is a bit slow going, and I'm also some parts I'll let be a little bit more detailed, some of it will fade away, some of it's getting covered, like I mentioned. So maybe I will finish doing these guys, just a few more off stream, and then on the next stream, Monday, 7 p.m. Central, just successful. What is that? Sorry, I keep bumping the mic. Oh, muting the mic when I accidentally bump it. What is logic just successful? I know. If I knew, I would tell you more about it. I am hoping to learn one day. But keep trying. We ain't dead yet. Alright, so it has been just over 2 hours, so I think I am going to call it. Get myself and the cat some lunch. Finish this inking part off stream, so next time I will have some more things to build in and possibly get really close. It might actually be just a few hours away from this being done. We'll see. Sometimes it's the thought process that takes longer, so we'll see. But yeah, good place to leave it. Continue on Monday. Thanks for the stream. Have a good day. Hang out cool. Thank you so much. Well, thank you for joining me and hanging out for all this time. I know it's like crazy late or early, I guess, maybe for you. So I appreciate you hopping on the stream to hang out. And everybody that came by, thank you. And I will continue this. Added a lot of depth today. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. We'll keep going. Get this guy done. Try to, outside of doing that little bit of inking, we're going to get everything else done on stream. That's the plan. Monday, 7 Central. Right? Yeah, today's Thursday. Good. Anyway, again, thank you guys. Hopefully I will see you next time. Have an awesome weekend and end of the week. And I hope you have all the creative energy and awesomeness that you deserve. Bye.